All right, let's jump into it. Time for a bit of a weekend wrap and a chance to sort of obviously get a bit of an idea about how things sort of finished up because obviously we had NFP, but also gives us a chance to sort of pencil it in, see if we can see any sort of trades, shifts in trends, these kind of things, and that for sort of upcoming week. So look, first of all, oh yeah, I should also say it is 20 past 10 on the 9th of February, so Sunday night. Um, Look, I'll start off with DXY because obviously, NFP on Friday, and it was a complete sort of mixed bag of data, and it was kind of like old school NFP reactions, like, what I mean, sort of like a couple of years ago when NFP was just like, it would drop, it would just absolutely like ping pong ball back up and down and up and down and up and down. And these are the kind of things where sort of like, I was sort of told like, you don't jump on the first move because it's going to be a fake. And then it'll settle after about, give it about sort of 15 minutes, 30 minutes or something afterwards, and then it'll show its true direction. And it was kind of like that. And of course, then we had a couple of other bits of data out. We had some other headlines out, and that really sort of kind of like solidified the move one direction or the other. Well, it wasn't really the other. The solidified the move to the top side for the US dollar. But if we sort of unpack it and say sort of like just as of the actual NFP print. So I'm just going to clear a little bit of this up because the charts are getting quite messy again quite quickly. So little bits and pieces. So, boom, we all know where we've been at here. It's the buyers. Just will say that's where the buyers were going to be sitting, and this is where they're holding, holding, holding. So this will be a crucial point once we get down under here, but we'll get back to that in a moment. So first of all, sort of the session prior to it. So if we actually jump onto a lower time frame, it's a bit easier to see. But Asia session and a bit of Euro and that. So leading up until the actual print. As of Friday, sort of analysis and that, basically I was saying, look, where were we? It was about Friday, 11 o'clock. So it was about this point here. And my basic idea and plan for that session prior to these large bits of news was to basically just fade the initial lots of strength. So we had obviously a bit of US dollar moving up through here, and it came back to that middle zone there. Came out the bottom side, moved back up to the middle zone here. Actually finished up towards the top end of that by the time we got the print. And obviously this big sort of up and down candle here, that's really sort of actual data drop candle. And so let's just get a couple of these out of the way and clear it up. And we can kind of see, if we move all this out, this, um, we can see obviously sort of like, massive indecision in that from the market in regards to US dollar and what they should do with this data print and that, because if we flip across the actual data, we can see there was really a complete mix of it all. So the headline number was down. 169 was the expectation. It was 256, I think, last time. Yeah, 256. Expecting 169, and it came in at 143. So that's quite a significant drop off. And not only that, it's even more of a significant drop off when you consider the fact that last month's number was revised up 50,000. So I don't think there's been any sort of like weather events or anything like this. Going back a couple of months, obviously they had the Florida hurricanes and that sort of that produced like a 12,000 or something, which to me seems a little bit crazy because obviously Florida's just Florida. It's one corner of the country. It's not like the whole country went to sleep. But anyway, whatever. That's what they chalked it up to have that incredibly low print. This time, the initial headline and reaction was US dollar went and went bang and sold down. So where we go, let's go back onto the chart there and jump onto lower time frame. Because you need to get even lower than the 15. That's how much it was just the 5. And that's probably a better representation of it. This sort of thing. So we had to get down on the 3 minute to see where this actual move happened. Now, obviously, we don't trade on a 3 minute, or I don't trade on a 3 minute, but just for the point of this to sort of show how the market reacted. And this doesn't even show the initial reaction. No. So within 1 minute, actually, it kind of flipped it around there, was it? Going 1 minute, jeez. Yeah, so you can see how fast, like that was within 1 minute, bang down, and then popped up to the top. So let's get back onto something a little bit. More. Well, I mean, 5 minutes still crazy anyway. Anyway, long story short, it dumped it straight down off the news because the headline number here being 143, dollar bearish. We know that, and that's the main one that people are looking for. Then they start to unpack a couple other bits and parts of it. And so, firstly, we have the revision of last month, a lot stronger than it had been this month. Sorry, a lot stronger than it had been last month, up another 50,000. So that is not like it doesn't hold as much weight, obviously, because that's in the past and currently right now is 143. But it is a slight tick in a dollar strong, dollar bullish kind of camp. Then you look at the other bits of numbers as well, and mainly like the average hourly earnings, okay, yes, that's up a tick in that. Again, look, everybody's struggling, everybody's having a hard time in that. Bang, if their wages are going up a little bit, the thought is obviously there that, okay, well, they're making a little bit more, they should be a little bit happier in that. They should be able to sort of cope with the things. They don't need so much of a helping hand. Like, it's a bit of a, not as, in my opinion, as direct. It's certainly factored into it, but it's not as a direct sort of thing. I mean, like, the average hourly earnings up a little bit. Well, I suppose everybody's making a little bit more. They don't need the idea of such of a helping hand from the government in, I basically translated, lowering rates. The other one is the unemployment rate. Now, to me, this I feel is probably something that the Fed looks at a little bit more, as like all central banks, and particularly we've seen with the RBA recently as well. These are very low numbers. And obviously, moving in that lower direction, more people are getting jobs. So more people are getting jobs. So unemployment, less people are unemployed. They're making a little bit more. Last month was revised up a little bit. So there's 1, 2, 3 ticks. We'll give this one a half point because it's not a big headline number. But this is 1, 2, 2.5 against 1. So overall, you'd probably say that that's fairly dollar bullish if you break it down just off those sort of bits of data. And as we can see with the market, the reaction, if you unpack it, was the initial was dumped down here. And then it sort of flew right back up, came back and settled, and really just sort of stuck around this here period. As you can see here for a little, about 10 minutes or so, and then started to sort of fade down, and started to fade up, started to fade back down, and then sort of later on, about 2 o'clock, we get into some other data. So if you look at the NFP in the sense of that kind of period through here, I mean, you can see it was down, it was up, it was down, it was up, and it finished like overall sort of dollar weakish in that sort of particular period of it all. Despite sort of all those bits of data, but obviously then started to pick things up a little bit more. We had a little bit more data coming out. So if we go and unpack this a bit more, around 2 o'clock and that, we had consumer sentiment and that, which is obviously a little bit weak here. But inflation expectations seem to be right up. So this is a little bit sort of under the radar. I think it's 2 o'clock on a Saturday morning. I mean, most people in Australia anyway, is sort of wrapped up by this time. But suddenly, if the inflation expectation is up, well, it's not necessarily. I mean, this is expectations. It's not actual true fact or anything like this. But the idea is that basically, if that's going to be a higher inflation, well, it kind of takes away the need, or not necessarily the need, but sort of the ability for the Fed to cut at such a quick rate. So obviously they're not hiking. That's not even part of the conversation. So the part of the conversation now is really more the whole sort of, how long are they going to hold rates high for? Excuse me, hold rates high for. And it's about cutting. And if they're going to cut quicker, you're going to see US dollar sell off. If they're going to cut at a slower rate, and they're going to see more holds, cut, hold, cut. I think markets are somewhat pricing in 2 cuts or something for the whole year. That's obviously dollar bullish. So if they cut, you'll see it melt down. If you see the weak US data, economic data, that's down and that. But if you've got the idea that inflation might be coming up, earnings and everything are up, the job numbers are still strong, unemployment is down, this is why we got that little push up subsequently into more or less the end of the session. As I kind of say with these things every week of that, I disregard the last candle because absolutely nobody's at their desks at this point. And so really, as you can see here, if you disregard those last 4 hours, you've got the last section here, 4 o'clock, bang, moving up, down, bit of indecision, and obviously just a little bit of a peeling off into close. So look, that's just trying to unpack just the news just Friday night. I mean, the whole week as a whole was absolutely incredible. From that massive gap up that we had into perfect rejection of this major triangle. Like this was just played beautifully. Look, I put a couple of posts on X at the time when this was happening, and it's just been bang, zooming down. So that obviously sort of blew a whole bunch of people out, sort of with this sort of initial this initial move, and sort of stopped out a whole bunch of sort of people with it all. But pretty much after the first couple of hours of the week, it's just bang, 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 down, down, down. So look, it found a bit of support, obviously top side of this little channel that it was working from. But I think the main thing that I was looking for, and this is what I sort of said on the video coming into Friday as well, is really this horizontal through here, where we knew the buyers are going to be setting, had the rejection from the technical level, moved down. In this actual move here, as I said on Friday, you had your move up. Oops, let's get rid of this one. This move here, you've got your support, moved up, you've got your resistance. This leg's always crucial because this is what gives you a higher low, double bottom, lower low. It's actually come in with a higher low. So all things said and done, normal trade, then the data coming out, then the headlines to finish it off, it has actually put in a higher low through this area. Yeah, maybe. So coming back up like this and that, obviously it's put in a higher high in this little section through here. We disregard that last candle because obviously look, sellers are coming back in. We've sort of called this as a little bit of a zone through the middle here, not a major one, because obviously it's within the trends and that kind of stuff. But certainly the market has previously responded at these levels. Yeah, well, and this is why we've got it marked out. So it's not a big shocker that, coming into the end of the week, you know, that's kind of the level that they've decided to sort of hold off on. So I think sort of coming up sort of through this week, look, it's hard to sort of say because obviously it's finished on a fairly bullish note. It's got a higher low, it's got a higher high, it's moving up through this zone through here. Till it's really back up above 10. Look, I would sort of say almost. Look, to be honest, I would say probably up above 109 means that okay, it's actually holding up to the top side here. I still think there's potential for a couple of different things through here. One, a little bear flag, which depending on how high this one comes off here, will take you back down here. Which actually, as you see, if this does sort of come in around here, it doesn't even matter. Look, if it bounces up a little bit more, hits this horizontal, I mean, comes back down, that does get us right down towards our sort of price target, that sort of 105 area. I mean, confirmation is obviously still just taking out those lows. It's still exactly the same as we saw before. And this is why I would probably put more weight on the idea of this horizontal opposed to this falling resistance, now test of support. So look, I think sort of like certainly coming over here, look, if this blows up the top over here, again, until it gets past this area up over here, I would say you might be able to get a little bit more of a dollar bull run through here. If you get up over here. That direction. Um, but I don't think this is going to happen. I mean, this is up at the 61% of this drop down. Look, it definitely could. You know what I mean? Like, you can't sort of rule any of these things out. But I think that the biggest move in play is, as I said, coming down towards our price target, 105 and that. And this is pretty much the direction I'm going to be sort of trading things, at least sort of through this week till we have a little bit more data or something to say otherwise. I mean, same sort of things. Look out for the headline, the tariff headlines. I've also got CPI coming up this week as well, US that is. So obviously that's going to be something that could factor into this. But I think above 109, yeah, call 109, big round number. Above this level, you got the wicks over here as well. You get back above here, then okay, I could see something squeeze up a little bit more. But for the time being, I think you've got a couple of little levels that are very sort of much where we could see this thing move. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, in that if we did see a little bit of a continuation of the US dollar strength into the start of the week. I mean, particularly after last week, we had the big blowout in the start of the week. You know, people could be still holding on to some fear of that. People could still be running with that. From this little direct area, we have got a higher low and a higher high. It is just coming into a bunch of resistance areas. So if we drag this across a little bit more, just so we can keep in line with it all, um, this is going to be, around the 50%. Should we sort of start to move up here a little bit earlier? But I would say my sort of feeling is that we're probably going to see a move up and then a move back down. What I've kind of been feeling through this area, if we put it on a larger time frame here, was potential for this kind of area here, so 49 again, for a bit of a range through here. Maybe overshoot it a little bit, but I would say probably sort of up around. So if we put this, of course, remember these are just rough price levels for that all. Maybe the body fill of this section here. Should we see that alert going through there? All right, back onto the 4 hour. Yeah, so I think sort of maybe let's see how things open up at the start. Let's get a couple of these out of the way, clean it up a bit. Sort of see if we can get a bit of a rejection from these kind of points over here. Between top side 108.67, call it 108.70. And if we can continue, like if we reject from this line through here, it's only got two touches, and this is always a bit of a funny one because it doesn't really, you know what I mean? It's these ones match up, and this just matches up on the same angle. So, but if we see that this little area starts to play in, even if it has a couple more push down up kind of things, and we can see that this is starting to sort of shape up as a sort of a bit of a channel, that'll give me probably a higher confidence that this could be a bit of a bear flag in the short term, and we could be looking much lower of it all. Um, so yeah, I think sort of I'll see how things sort of open up tomorrow morning, but I would be probably looking to sort of sell into any sort of early US dollar strength. All right, and of course, if we come back on the bottom side, see this is a little bit of a support area here. I'm just going to turn this into a zone. And get this thing off. Oh, I can't stand these. Turn my back. Yeah, so I think that's a fairly reasonable sort of plan of attack there. All right, cool. Let's move along. Have a look at gold because gold got a pop, and obviously, look, it tried to sort of get back up above this range over here, but quite an ugly looking smackdown through the top here. But certainly, it is finding its resistance up at this level, which we've sort of found, and that's fine. I mean, we traded the head and shoulders through this week was a great flip of direction. Because obviously, if you've been watching what I've been doing, we've been buying dips the whole way up through here. And a lot of the time, I'm kind of reluctant to sort of go against the trend with these things, but I feel all in all, the move is incredibly strong, incredibly, it almost feels a little bit overstretched, to be honest. Like if we have a look on a 4 hour, this period up here is where I started shorting. And you can see that, look at all these things here, but this kind of like direction, you know what I mean? Like this is kind of very steep up. You got your pullback there. This move here was a second lot, and then bang, all the way up through here. And this short here played out very well. I mean, sort of like shorted back down here. And then I got fills from longs. 36, I think, was the best that I got. So I picked up around here, picked up at 40, picked up at 44. Yeah, they're in and out kind of trades, but you know what I mean? That's fine, man. I caught the short here, I caught the longs back up there. That's that's trading, man. Um, but yeah, anyway, if we get back onto this kind of move here, another reason of why I sort of started showing is because obviously we've got this little sort of rising resistance through here, which seems to be holding up. Yeah, it danced around it a little bit, but yeah, we had a confluence of this resistance pushing through this resistance area here. That price target that I had set out that had already been hit, so I was out of my longs, And then when I saw that this measured move had fully played out, I'm like, look, you know what? I can't be the only person that's looking at all these indicators that's obviously giving us these little short ideas or short signals. But you can see it's not an easy streak down. Like, I mean, if you look back at some of our previous sell downs, look at these things. So these are just meltdowns, meltdowns, meltdowns. Like this stuff here at the moment, at least for the time being, on these sort of pullbacks here, it's not going down easy. Can see it's definitely being met with buys and that sort of pushing this stuff back up. This little breakthrough here, just sort of recapping a couple of the trades. The little break actually pulled up, I got 60 in this area here. So for this break, if you look at the Friday, there was the two trades that I was trying to take with gold here. One was a rejection from this level back down and try and buy it around here. This obviously didn't work because it didn't reject from this level. It did a little bit, but not anything that was substantial. Get rid of this one here. And this trade was the one that I sort of looked for. So it was the break, and then I just held at the 60. Waited. It actually came down once. God damn, I missed it by like a buck. Flew up, and then came back down, picked me up, and then we went up through this period here, which was a nice little trade. So let's get this stuff out of the way. So that's a bit of a recap. We can look at where we're at and what we're doing right now. So look, it's obviously still bullish. It's still pushing up towards the highs. Yeah, it was an ugly smack back down here. So this was 3 o'clock. So just after all that sort of consumer inflation kind of stuff sort of came out. But I think the inflation stuff, I guess, actually, no, I'm trying to say, I was about to sort of say it'd be probably more bullish for gold, but it'd definitely be sort of a little bit more bullish for US dollar, as you saw, the reaction. But I think sort of just everything going on at the moment, it was high. I mean, look, we can almost look at this, put a zone through here, and it's filled that body perfectly. Try and do it without sort of highlighting this measured move part. But this little body here filled perfectly, goes up over here, and body's unable to close above there. So look, still think realistically this is just a consolidation through here. I think a larger sort of channels potentially at play. So we could be sort of seeing this sort of move across here, maybe a couple more dips down and all this kind of stuff. But to me, I don't think this is about to just melt straight down. I could be sort of looking pretty sheepish tomorrow if this does. But you can see there's obviously quite a few sort of repeating levels in that are coming in around the same stuff on the way down here, which provide a couple of little bounces. But realistically, you're looking at something more to the effect of this. And I have a feeling that we'll probably sort of consolidate a little bit more before we sort of see anything happen. I mean, all in all, look, it's really just sort of said screw you to the US dollar. Like, it doesn't really care. As US dollar sort of been coming down, it's still pushing up, even through, the periods where US dollar was moving well. Gold was selling off a little bit. I mean, obviously, yes, we saw those crazy sell-offs sort of October last year, but, all in all, it's holding up pretty well. I mean, remember, that's one test. So even though it's sold down here, that's still technically an all-time high. And we're very close to price target. So I wouldn't be surprised, as I said. I think probably a little bit more consolidation here. I'm still maintaining 29.15 as our overall price target before we see more substantial cooling. But potentially you could see something to the effect of bomb, bomb, bang, 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 then a move down to this sort of effect. Now, these aren't obviously done to levels or anything. This is just an idea of a bit of consolidation back and forth, a breakout, suck in a few more people, and then push back down here. I don't feel this is kind of toppish. It is a little bit in the sense of, okay, here's the highs. Let's come up, take out all those sort of like textbook stops that are just above the all-time high. But there wasn't any big stop run. A big stop run would have resulted in this going bang up to the top over here because that's it. Like people are positioned with it all. So I think sort of like, before it makes its move, I was saying this to a mate as well the other day that like if I'm going to see gold like really break down, two things I want to see. One is a big wick like this, potentially out like right out the top. Or two, I want to sort of see a big defined horizontal we can sort of see it like go test, 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 test. Like it's got to build up that liquidity and build up those stops. I don't think that this is enough right now to sort of go, okay, look, we've just technically put in an all new all-time high. US dollars potentially on the brink of breaking down a little bit further, that we could sort of see gold just completely melt down through here. As I said, look, I'm not holding any gold at the moment, so I'll sort of obviously see how the week sort of pans out or starts to play out. But to me, I think this is kind of still an area where we could still see some up and down, short-term trades with it all. But I still think we have that sort of 29.15 as a major price target before a bit of a sort of substantial cooling. And look, honestly, wouldn't be surprised if we saw something to this effect, and really came back and retested those previous all-time highs. Because things generally, like this was a beautiful back test. This was the Monday. And I mean, if you look at that in terms of sort of like what it just did through the week, it's punched up and it's holding near the highs. Look at it on a weekly candle. Like, where's the thing gone? Yeah, that's not about, yeah, there was that sell down 15, 20 bucks or whatever in that into close, but that's not about to sort of turn around. You know what I mean? Like this one, say, big wick out the top, big wick out the top, got close and sort of came back down here a little bit. So it's this big wick out the top, it's ripped up to the top side there as well. But the idea sort of being sort of smaller candle, then drop down kind of thing. I don't think we're going to see one that just goes boom and engulfs and comes back down. Certainly, it is an insane sort of run with gold here. But yeah, if you look at the RSI, this is on weekly. We've broken the previous highs, big candle moving out to the top side. That RSI is set to support a move to move much higher, should this want to sort of keep going. Obviously, that's a bigger picture kind of thing, not what we're sort of trading on a daily basis, but it's just the general idea of what we could be seeing. And even if this does sort of come up here and pull back along this period, like, this is still, and this is just random numbers I'm picking, that's a 4% pullback. Yeah, it's 118 bucks. Yeah, like these numbers are like crazy, but it was 2 years ago. It was at 1800. So yeah, that was a big sort of thing. Now $118 now. Well, it's only 4%. So there's no reason why you can't, like we saw with the price target here, see the market start to take some profit once it hits these things. I'm not the only person that's picked this number. It's not a just pie in the sky. This is what technical analysis is. And there will be larger segments of the market that will sort of react to this, in my opinion. This may sort of pop through, but I think if we do see it, it'll be like our price target was over here, just on a larger scale. Here was the price target. Prices danced around it, but more or less, it's pretty close to where we have been sort of throughout the whole week. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's just a sort of forethought with it all. The short here and now, I wouldn't be surprised a little bit of sort of shooting around. Maybe a couple of early dips down, as I said, maybe with some US dollar strength. If we'll go to see how they sort of like play together. But if we see some US dollar strength, we see sort of gold come down. These are the kind of levels that I'm probably going to be looking to take a stab at, sort of like, 28.50 or 28.48, whatever, a couple of bucks in change here. Body fill down to the bottom side over here. If you watch what I do, I like the body fill at these kind of things. So around the 41. But if I sort of get down here, we sort of probably looking for a couple of buys. So I'll just put that as a little buy zone should we come down to it. Bang. I think sort of like realistically, as I said, consolidate over here. This rising support here, it's got 3 touches, matches up with the top side here. I think this is pretty much good enough to sort of see what happens when this sort of breaks down. Well, let's drag it all the way up here. When this rising support fails, and obviously retest, fail, whatever, but when this significantly fails, I think that's when we'll see a little bit further cooling. For now, I still think it's just really consolidating the highs up the top over here. So yeah, let's see how US dollar and the market sort of continue that flow. Because realistically, NFP, I rabbiting on here. I've done half an hour. I've only done 2 markets, but NFP I put as what I call second tier news. First tier news, I know on Forex Factory it's got the little red sort of thing, but it doesn't differentiate between the rate decision and CPI, NFP, these kind of things. So I put FOMC, the rate decision. That's the holy grail. That's the whole point of a lot of what's moving the market, and the market's positioning itself for what they're going to do with that. Second tier, I put CPI, which obviously, as I said, we've got coming up this week, and NFP. These are the ones that can set the trends for the upcoming month or till the next rate decision, or till we get another large bit of data as well. And with those sort of things, they can be sort of like month-long sort of trend-setting things. But I think sort of because it was so much a decision with that, I don't think it was a clear cut. Like, yeah, there was certainly some numbers in favor, and overall it did look like it sort of won out for the US dollar. And also with the talk of global tariffs, that's another thing you got to weigh into it. Um, and also the inflation expectations. Those things obviously strengthened the strengthened the US dollar. But these bits of data can be longer term. Sorry, it's a bit late here. I'm sort of rambling on. Can be longer trend setting bits of data. But because this was a bit up, back and forth, yada yada, I wouldn't be surprised if we see early US dollar strength as a continuation flow of last week's data of the NFP, and also the fact that last Monday we saw strong US dollar strength into the Asia session. So if I would expect that again, so if we get that as a push down, I would be looking for these to sort of base around these areas, trying to find some area where we can see things slow down, look like they're on a tip, and then maybe sort of ride back up into the top part of this area, up through here, sort of like, around sort of, 68, 70 kind of area. But as I said, I don't see major breakout CPI coming. Maybe that's the one that's going to get us up to that price target, or the one that's going to get us to break right down. All right. That being said, very long-winded sort of one. Move along. We've got silver. So silver, similar sort of thing here. I actually sort of railed silver through that period. I think it was 20, it was 32.42. I think I got my last one off. So as you can see, up around 42. So just around this period here. So again, look, don't catch the very top. Went up on another 20 cents. But you take your money, take your profit, thank you, wrap it up, and then, as I said, I only saw this middle of the night. I was like, whoa, what's happening here? And it just went crunch. So yeah, it really took a bit of a smack down there. Actually, which chart? We use this chart, don't we? And as you can see, look, where it sort of stopped, it stopped at channel support and confluence with this horizontal support. So this was the trade through Friday as well. We said, look, we're going to come down into this area here, expect some buyers. Bang, exploded back up, put in new high, and just the same as gold, boom, smacked back down. So let's get this one out of here. Oh, which one was that? That's the one we'll get out of there now. So we can kind of sort of see where are we going to be going with it all. Look, I think same sort of deal here. I think if we see this little rising support break and a close under here, I'd be cautious on silver, at least just in the short term. You want to keep this momentum going. If he breaks through this little confluence here, you can see a reaction happening down over here, but you may need to let that play out. And what I mean by that is the fact that you got to respect it. If it's going to break down and it breaks the channel and the flow, you can't buy it straight away and have it expected to zoom back up. Look, these things can happen, but it's not copper. Copper will do something like that. Silver, not so much. And with that, I think you need to respect the fact that it might like to sort of come down a little bit further. If we look at sort of previously, I covered this the other day. This could be a potential, and this would take it out and then push it back up if we were to sort of see this thing. As I've covered a couple of times, look, we got a pretty strong little horizontal area where we can call our breakout across the zone over here. We know sellers are sitting there. I think this would be an interesting area. So where we sort of come to, as I said, I think this horizontal, I'm not a big fan of this actually, to tell you the truth. We came down like this. Not a big fan. Look, I'll leave it there just to sort of see how things pan out. But the general idea, like we've covered with it a couple of times, you have a strong horizontal, comes lower, comes lower, then moves. Strong horizontal, lower, 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 bang, then moves. We've got horizontal, hit, hit, hit. So I could see this coming back down a little bit further down here. I think sort of like, maybe around that sort of 3140 area. So 3180 right now. Should we break this area here? I think, you've probably got a pretty easy little move, just sort of down between these two zones here. Of 1% down to this area here. I'd expect probably a little bit of a bounce under here. And then I'd pretty much be looking for a retest of this top side of the range. So down again, $31, which is a fair sell-off because obviously we're pushing up towards sort of 33 at one stage there. But again, this is the kind of thing that I was saying, when price targets are hit, when price targets are met, I try to sort of clear the book and sort of reevaluate whether that's it or whether it's going to go for another leg higher or whether we're going to see that as a shift and we can see things come down and cool off a little bit more substantially. So have a look on the 4 hour. Yeah, look, again, you can't sort of you disregard that last candle. That's an ugly looking candle, all in all. How did it look on a weekly? Look, weekly's not too bad with it all. Yeah, I wouldn't count this out quite yet, but as I said, I certainly see a push back down, put in a bottom wick, maybe a body fill to the bottom side here. Excuse me, retest the top side of these wicks over here. These ones. Of course it does. Oh, that's frustrating. Oh, how about this? Anyway, do this. Okay. See a retest of that over there. So downside, I would be looking around that 31.40 area, which, as you can see, is pretty much where we had that lined up 2 seconds ago as well. So I think that's probably an area in which, we could probably see sort of price push down should we break through this channel through here. Wait to see what happens there because, as I said, I think once you sort of break the momentum with this, you're going to have to deal with a little bit of deeper potential pullbacks as well. But we'll see how things open up on the morning. Look, it could hold this channel. If it holds this channel and pushes up, then obviously we're looking for a consolidation through this period here. And again, you're looking for the top side move out to the top over here. If you're going to short, well, if I'm going to short it, I'm coming down to this side over here. It will be short, and I mean it's always short and sharp with my trades, but certainly it'll be sort of short and sharp trades down here. Mainly looking for buys to sort of get a bit more momentum flowing to the top side. I'll just flip it across to something else here with gold silver ratio because we did actually get a bit of a breakout. So price targets down, price targets up, and then obviously bang, it exploded into the end of that week. So we'll see how we sort of go through this period over here. Obviously, so got a couple of wicks, so I could overshoot this zone a little bit. But should we sort of hit this area and then sort of start to push back down, that would probably sort of show that, as I said, early push up. This is very bullish in this one sort of momentum move here. This is 4 hour candles. So there's a good chance you'll see this continue up a little bit. But around here where we've got these wicks, I would expect some sort of reaction to push back down. This goes in with the idea and the theory of sort of gold and silver having a little bit of a weak start to the week, US dollar being a little bit stronger, and then potentially if we start to see this push back down, see those sort of trades reverse up a little bit. So provide us with sort of better swings from lower prices. All right, flip across. We got to Aussie having a tough time getting through that 63. It bashed its head above it up against it a number of times, and obviously eventually sort of just succumbed to that thing. But all in all, again, it is holding itself pretty well, particularly from where we sort of started the week. Got down to the lows at underneath 61, which are like multi-year hot lows. If you look at this in terms of a sort of move from the low down here, which are pretty much, I do have that already done, it's still within the 23%. There's a little sort of consolidation period here. Now, with these sort of things, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a potential for this to sort of dip a little bit lower, just if we do see that earlier strength. So if we get a push down to sort of say 62.40s, I'll be looking to give it another shot to buy it. I think it'd probably see a little bit of wick and a reversal. To me, this is still what we're kind of looking at. Little breakout box there. Above 63, I think is really going to start to pick up steam. We do have the highs of 63.30 or so, but I think this 63, because it's been bashed a bunch of times, you're going to get to start to see people get a little bit sort of a little bit cautious should we start to move up towards that 63. And I think that's going to be your major sort of breakout with our move, targeting towards, it's going to be a bit of a stop at 63.70s, but towards 64.20, 64.15, 64.20, this kind of zone up around over here. I mean, obviously, look, it's got a little bit of work to be done, but as I said, if you look at this in one straight move through here, and we look at this on a weekly candle, that's a big rejection from the lows. That had, I mean, look at the momentum that we've had. And this is push down, lower, low. But buyers have just come in and absolutely crunched it straight back up. So as you can see, the main sort of area through here, obviously that sort of 23% fib at 63.30. Well, what was the 23 fib? Because obviously went to cover part of the candles with my hand. Obviously you can't see that. But if you disregard obviously these candles here, because at this point here, this was the low, it only got to the 23. That's a very sort of strong momentum candle to reject from. Pushes back down, buyers come back in. If we take out that level there, then I think, we're definitely looking up towards that 38. But we can update this now because it's actually technically a new low. And as you see, the 38% coming in very much with, you can't see it on the weekly, but where we've got this little zone through here. You can't even see it on maybe on the 4 hour, might have it a bit better. Yeah, as you can see, there's this tiny little zone, well, 4 hour zone coming through there. No, sorry, I misspoke there. That was where we think there might be a little bit of reaction. No, it's this other area through here, this peak just before it obviously melted down, that last little run through there. This is an area that I'd like to sort of see what happens. I do think it's got enough to sort of say it's broken out of the channel, it's back test the top side of the channel, day below it, stopped out a whole bunch of people. If this can get above the 63 here, bang, it means that we're moving back up. It doesn't mean it's going to be a complete sort of reversal and all the way back up to 67, 68, 69 kind of thing. Look, it could with US dollar potentially selling down, but baby steps to begin with. That's a bigger picture with Aussie, but for the here and now, if we look at this, that's obviously a little bit of sort of bearish momentum it carried into the close, where we've sort of gone down, and obviously this is a bit of a support area, where we've sort of seen the market value it a couple of times. It's been resistance, 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 chopped around at support, 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 and obviously now it's flipped over and you've got some resistance. Again, don't feed too much into the idea of the last couple of hours of the week. However, that is a bit of bearish momentum. So if you see this just go, oh, shoot, and carry down, it could still be respecting this little sort of consolidation box, just with a little bit of a spike out the bottom here. Carry the flows into Asia session, and then reverse back up into 62.70s, this kind of stuff, and then sort of start to sort of consolidate through here. I think CPI will probably be the time where we're going to see things either make or break. Certainly, that's a big item on the cards for this week. That and any sort of curveball bits of tariff news that we see sort of coming out as well. But a lot of this sort of stuff is lining up to sort of say, probably look, I would say a little bit of US dollar strength coming into open. And we flip across, we've got China. And China, as you can see, is getting a bit of a rounded bottom happening here. So we did move up, got a rejection from down here. And this is the kind of thing, like none of these levels are meant to stay forever. It's just where we expect sellers to be. And as you can see, sellers were there, sellers were there, sellers were there, till it broke through. Then broke through, came back down. Buyers go, yep, so that's it, I'm out. Shorters said, yep, that's it, I'm out, and bang, shot back up. But again, comes into a zone that we've got marked out. Like, it's still respecting the chart. It's not some crazy free for all that's just going shoo. And as you can see, it really it came up into that zone, clipped it, and just sort of stalled around here. So look, it's obviously sort of changed course a little bit from, not getting this complete push down through here as of yet. So can we get anything to drag through this stuff here. Mm, let's see what it looks like on the 4 hour. Oop. Look, 4 hour, I don't think that's too bad, actually, to say the truth. Yeah, we've got a couple of wicks and it kind of stuffed around here a little bit, but obviously used it as a pretty strong sort of launch pad coming up here. So I would say this is your momentum to sort of break coming back down here. But again, look, it's not a super fast moving pair, and it could just really just sort of waddle around a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised again, a little bit of push up and then a rejection back down. I do think we'll end up this week lower than we did from last week. Move up early, put in a top wick. If you play this out and use a couple of the different time frames here, if this breaks up early, US dollar strength gives you a bit of a top wick. If we can come back down, then flip through and turn this bearish. This is all hypothetical at this stage, of course. You've got to see how it plays out. But if it opens up, puts up a spike, comes back down, and then takes out the weekly open and turns the weekly candle bearish, then we'll be starting to look down to this sort of rising support, and that'll be sort of a nice sort of confirmation that we're going to see a flip of the candle bearish and a drive down. All completely hypothetical at this point. It's just something to be planned for or to have an idea for. See what this looks like. I don't like these crossover things like that. I don't like, yeah, not in the middle of chop. No, I'm not a big fan of that one. Get rid of that one. So yeah, I'll be sort of waiting to see what happens here. But certainly, if this pushes up, I would expect it to be sold into. I think this has got some momentum behind it to at least have another bigger sort of leg down to this bottom side over here. If this were to sort of come down, again, this will take a side price high with a little bit of a push up through here. So we'll see how we go. I'm not a big fan of this at the moment. We'll just see how it plays out. And finally, copper, absolutely ripping. This has absolutely killed it. Didn't get the pullback through here, which is a bit sort of frustrating because, as I'm saying, I've been trading copper through this little wedge breakout the last couple of weeks. It's been respecting the chart beautifully. We got the nice push up here. This little pullback here, I thought may have come down just a little bit lower because it's funny. I actually sort of put this here during one of the videos. I put a little support. I'm like, it'll come back to about here. And then I thought, hold on, wait, there's got to be a logical reason why it comes back to that point. And I'm like, this is kind of no man's land down here. So let's be a little bit more, sneaky and put it down over here. I can't see anything particular reason why this came down that far, except for maybe a little bit of an overshoot. But either way, there was your breakout level, back test, and it absolutely ripped up. This is partly the reason that Aussie's holding a bit of strength on this as well. Because, we've had this little sort of consolidation period, this little sort of wedge through here, it's broken out. We're absolutely ripping now because of all assets and all sort of, things to be trading in that at the moment, copper is doing a lot better than anything else since the election. This is where we had the election. So there was the heartbreak period through here, moved up, election, got crushed, everything reversed and did well for one day, and then everything went ugly pear-shaped. Bang, 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 down. So it's actually overcome those election highs. And as you can see, we're coming back up towards, September highs, which, as you can see, is very much a breakout point. So let's grab this and put this through here, because this is the next kind of zone, hence where we got that little price target in the medium term, which shows, let's see if this lines up there. As you can see, this is probably a fairly decent area that we've seen in the market. Plus minus a few points here and there. Sort of value this thing recently. But anyway, long story short, very bullish. Broke out very nicely. I don't really trade these in this way, but that pretty much comes in line. Again, these things aren't an exact science, but comes in pretty much in line with those previous highs. Oop. Pull this over here. So let's make this, which again is actually pushing right up towards there now. That's your next price target. So very close. I mean, it's not much to sort of say, hey, look, here, have a price target of 0.5% or something. How far are we off now? 1%. Yeah. I mean, look, the bulk of the move is definitely done there. But up through this area, it's a nice break, retest, and it's exploded up through here. This being so bullish, and if it can maintain some sort of bullish momentum through here, is what's going to help Aussie spur on and potentially push past those 63-cent area. I think this is probably, they're due to get a little bit more back in tune with each other. For a while there, copper was running to the highs and Aussie wasn't really doing much at all. Aussie's decoupled from a lot. Actually, there's been a lot of correlations that are decoupled a bit, but Aussie is decoupled a lot. I've noticed from the from its sort of general sort of indicator correlations to run in sync with, because equity market's been ripping, Aussie been crushed. Copper at a previous point had been ripping, Aussie wasn't really sort of reacting a great deal off that as well. So obviously they're not the only things that drive them, but they're generally pretty good indicators with them all. All right, and I think that's about it for the charts. Let's have a look at what we've got for the news. All right, and so we've got a bit of Chinese data came out. CPI right up. Previous fall, up into 4, it came in quite strong there. Interesting. Come Monday, nothing through Asia, or nothing really of note. Yen is something to be watching as well. Not obviously that I trade a great deal of yen, but you're seeing some big major things. I will just cover this very quickly, just because I got a mate that was trading GJ and trying to get a big reversal on it, and I was just like, you got to be careful on this. Just because if we have a look at this, particularly have a look at this on a weekly, this is what I was saying to him. That's your weekly, and that now has broken through there. So again, look, this could get a little bit of a bounce up here. The time of actually sort of drawing this was a little bit earlier, so it was around this period over here. And as you can see, where it came up to and rejected from, oh, what the hell happened there? Right in line with those lows. Boom, boom, boom. Oh yeah, it's one of my old entries. So yeah, very much retested, bang, shot down there. I would say another, and it's a new week, push up, bang, hammer down. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to 184, if not lower. And there's a couple of things. One thing I did point out, actually, again, just on the whole yen with it all, this is where the lows were from Monday last week. Obviously, we saw GJ cruise right past those. 4 hour. Yeah, GJ sort of cruised right past those. UJ, GJ was before, crunched through there. But the interesting one was AJ, which, as you can see here, they were Monday's lows, only just retested it into the close, but boom, is holding up here. It means that the market is very much valuing Aussie and holding it a little bit better against the yen, obviously, than sort of, say, the pound or the US dollar. So I think that bodes well for US dollars, so Aussie strength, potential to come, and how the market's valuing it at the moment. Anyway, persist on. So we've got a couple of speakers. We've got Bank Holiday from Japan. Have they got Golden Week or something coming up soon? No, it doesn't seem like that. I'm not quite sure when that is. But anyway, they got a bank holiday on the Tuesday. And we've got business confidence. Still a negative number here. We'll see how this one comes out. I wouldn't be surprised if this ticks up a little bit here. It seems to feel a little bit more upbeat around recently. Yeah, nothing. Couple of speakers. We've got Powell talking on Tuesday. So yeah, pretty quiet for the first start of the week. CPI, as I said, will be the main one that they're looking at, 2.9, 2.9. So if we tick up to 3, okay, bang, now we're definitely moving in the wrong direction. With CPI, we're going to see US dollar sort of continue to hold firm. Should this come in a little bit cooler though, if it moves back and sort of wobbles around, we could see that obviously it's been as low as 2.3, so as low it got down to here, slowly moving up 2.6 to 2.7, 2.7 to 2.9, and they're looking for it to sort of maintain and sort of stop around there. So kind of like, okay, it went down, it's moved up, and just bouncing, boom, 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 boom. If it comes in with a two on it, I think it might be okay. If it comes in a three on it, I'd be a little bit sort of cautious, and I'd probably expect US dollar strength with that. So we'll see how that plays out. Maybe we'll sort of trade the Wednesday Asia session, similar to how we traded NFP come this week. So if we see a little bit of a move up earlier in the session, we'll fade that sort of move and then sort of wait for the data to sort of come out. But that's the sort of big one for the week. We've got power talking again. Apart from that, there's not really a great deal, bunch of Aussie news and that sort of coming out at the moment. Inflation expectations, 4% over there. Okay, it's fairly strong. Um, GDP for the pound, got PPI coming in. Okay, that's looking to sort of tick up. I'm pretty sure this came pretty flat last time, actually down under expectations. So obviously similar to CPI because PPI is the producer price inflation. Um, but we'll see how this goes. And fairly flat on unemployment claims and then retail sales. God, I'll be happy when when all this stuff, the time zone, daylight savings sort of changes a little bit, and we have this stuff come in a little bit earlier because this is just 2:30, so 12:30 on a Friday night. Come on, mate. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, retail sales looking to go down. Okay, so down it will be obviously sort of like idea unpack it. That'll be sort of US consumers not spending so much. They're holding onto their pennies. Why are they holding onto their pennies? Because they're not too confident means that sort of the outlook could be more favouring sort of Fed sort of cutting for those sort of if those data does come out in that direction. All right, that's it from me.